Hello and welcome to the Friday Gear Show. Now it's a bit of a different show this week because we've been filming, or these guys have been filming for this new series for Catalyst, which is a training group thing which they'll find more about. But because you're here, and because you're La Sportiva athletes, and because I needed a Friday Gear Show, we're going to talk a little bit about being an athlete and also sort of La Sportiva development. Now obviously these guys are La Sportiva athletes, so we have to mainly talk about La Sportiva, being totally transparent with this.
Yep.
So you are climbers sort of from almost different generations in terms of like social media and how it's developed. Just talk to me about that process of getting sponsored and how it's worked for both of you. So maybe starting with Louis' Instagram, YouTube fame.
So I was lucky to have like one or two videos which did quite well on my Instagram. I think actually one of the first ones was one I sent you, and it was the Alex Puccio like out strength her sort of challenge, and so then it got shown on EpicTV, and then I just started posting more videos and always tried to keep it like light and fun. And so for me, having an Instagram following is almost like a weird sort of currency that I can use to, I don't know if this is along the right topic, so the stuff we're supposed to talk about, but it's interesting seeing how, for me, and I think what a lot of people sometimes don't like about the world of being a sponsored athlete is, a part of it is that you do have to post on social media and you have to tell people about what you're up to. But then the stuff I always try and do is at least try and make sure that I'm being a really, really good role model the whole time, or I try to be anyway. Posting really fun stuff, making it interesting to watch, that sort of thing. Oh, go on.
But you, so that's kind of your world, and then Neil's world is slightly different. Because I mean, you admitted before we started talking, you were like, look, it's different for me.
Well, I mean, I'm definitely an old dog, and I struggle with new tricks. And I mean, if you look at my Instagram following, you'll think, why the heck is this guy sponsored? I mean, for me, it's
you're
just
sponsored for real reasons. It's not showing off online.
Well, no, it's just a different thing. I'm a different type of athlete, and La Sportiva as a brand acknowledge what the new generation are doing, and hopefully what old timers like me are doing. I mean, when I started, there was no internet, let alone Instagram, and there was 3 magazines, and the way you went about it was you went out and you tried as hard as you could at your sport. If you did hard stuff, it got published, and it kind of went from there, really. And that was 89, so I'm just coming up to my 30th anniversary with La Sportiva, before he was born.
Because you coached Louis, didn't you?
Yeah,
and now you work in Catalyst
and he's
together.
Also the one who got me signed with La Sportiva.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And because I work in the climbing media, so I get a bit about the behind-the-scenes stuff. But there's a lot of expectations of you guys. You're expected to do a lot of filming projects, a lot of photography, often for no money or for free, just to kind of push yourselves. How do you balance that, to being a pro climber and having these expectations on you?
I mean, I try to just post fairly. Oh, do you want to wait for?
No, so just tell these guys we're in the middle of a climbing wall. So if there's lots of blowing and going on, people are drying their hands. So excuse that. I'm sorry, but I carry on.
Oh, what were we talking about?
So the expectations,
pressures to post stuff. Yeah. So I kind of feel it as like a daily thing of I should post something just to keep the profile going, but then also have this slight nagging thing in the back of my head, which I think is a nice way of keeping humble, but frequently reminding myself. Instagram following means nothing. That I can think of so many people, even just in London, who are miles stronger than me and just choose not to tell people about it all the time. And yeah, because they don't just show off the whole time, they don't have a shoe sponsor, which is fine. They're just I'm
I know what you mean. It's kind of like
exactly. It's in no way equates necessarily to being a really, really good climber.
But if you want to do it in the social media way, you do have to sort of put yourself out.
Exactly. You need to be a good promoter, I suppose.
And on the flip side, did you ever feel pressure? Because I mean, you have such a trad climbing background. Were you ever like, I've got to climb something terrifying to keep this, or did you not?
It's a really pertinent question, because when I went through a phase of doing a lot of pretty bold stuff, E9s, climbed E10, you have to be very honest with yourself when you sort of get to the starting line on a route like that. If you're doing it for fame, fortune, sponsorship, then you're playing a very dangerous game. So you've got to be intrinsically motivated, and if sponsorship comes to you after that, then great, but you can't do it for that reason. I mean, you hear stories back in the day of certain athletes being put under pressure to climb a certain grade. For me, I would run a mile from this. I mean, I don't know if I'm lucky or whether I've done this myself, but I've aligned myself with sponsors who don't put me under any of this type of pressure. I've never been told to you've got to do more sport or more trad or more bouldering. Equally, we've got an athlete like Louis. There's stuff that he does like amazingly brilliantly. The stuff that he doesn't do at all. We're not telling. La Sportiva as a brand we don't tell our athletes what to do.
No, that's what I've really loved about working with La Sportiva is they've been clear before I even signed with them. We don't care if you necessarily climb super hard all the time. We don't care if you're doing high-level competitions. we just want you to climb stuff and be happy, and ideally tell people about it to represent the brand. And that's a really, really nice, relaxed way of approaching it.
And in terms of the gear itself, like there's lots of shoe manufacturers out there and brands doing different things. But in your opinion, what is it that La Sportiva do a bit differently from other people?
Well, you put it brilliantly the other day. They're the main brand that's constantly coming up with new innovations. They're the best shoes that I can find. This is why I like being with La Sportiva.
But that's a good question, because you are, as we said, you're La Sportiva athletes. But would you be with this brand if they had bad shoes? Honestly,
no, I've always seen La Sportiva as like the Rolls Royce of climbing shoes. They're top notch. They're the best brand there is, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. And how much do you, as an athlete, get into this development process? Do you get to go in there and just be like, look, I don't think this is very good. Let's try this.
So the R&D centre at La Sportiva is one of the most secretive places you can ever go. Like, you know, forget MI5 or something like that. You are not being allowed into this room unless you are literally part of the inner circle, because they've had stuff ripped off historically. Talk is cheap. Every brand will tell you that they're an innovator. What brand would admit to not having inventions? But the deal is La Sportiva have come out with all the significant breakthroughs in tech over the last 20 years in rock shoes. You think about it, downturn shoes, these things that we all wear now, you know, La Sportiva invented them. I was the first athlete in the UK to wear a pair of downturn shoes. I was a laughing stock. People called them banana shoes. They thought I'd like warped them
Seriously?
on the... Yeah, people were like I was climbing at the foundry in Sheffield. It was like, oh, look at Gresham. He's left his shoes on the radiator. They've warped. You know, oh, it's a gimmick. It will never catch on. You know, here we are, you know, 15, 20 years later. Yeah. And of course, everybody accepts downturned. Now, the same thing's going on currently with no edge. Everyone's going, oh, it's a gimmick. Why would you buy shoes that have got rounded off edges? That's like Emperor's New Clothes, isn't it? But, you know, wait and see. You know, with it's just ahead of its time, and people are struggling to get their heads around it. And they've got more stuff. I mean, like these S heels as well. It's the first heel cut that's actually designed to properly stay put when you're doing aggressive heel hooks, so you don't get that slippage.
So I've got to ask a question, because I talk about it all the time as part of my job, which is P3, right? What is P3? Because I understand that it maintains the downturn. How does it do that? Because I haven't got a clue.
Okay, so again, this is coming from the company that invented downturns. As soon as they invented it, they realised the limitation. The first downturn shoes, the Mirages, the ones that I tested, they just blew out really quickly. They lost the tension on the instep. So they needed to work out a way of keeping its downturn shape, and they use basically sort of synthetic non-stretch rubbers. Think of it almost like a bow, or like a catapult. That it pulls it back.
So it's tensioned into.
It pulls it into the downturn shape and keeps it there. So it keeps that tension. When you're drilling your toe into a foothold, the tension's coming through your core, through your hamstring, and into the foothold. And the P3 transmits that tension into the surface that you're standing on. Again, it was another first for La Sportiva that has been copied extensively.
Okay. So I know we're super pushed for time here, so I'm going to ask you last question each, which is, which La Sportiva shoe would you use? If you're on a desert island, you've got one pair of shoes, what are you going to bring with you and why?
These are the ones, right? They do everything. These I use because I think they've got a slight edge, at least as I've found them. When it comes to standing on a sharp edge on an overhang, these are slightly better than the Squamas, just because they're stiffer and they're a bit sharper. These are just pretty much unstoppable on everything. You can smear in them. They're my go-to comp shoes. You can smear in them. You can stand on small edges. You can toe hook brilliantly. You can just do everything in them.
And your solutions, what is your street size and what are the size of that?
I usually get my shoes fairly comfortably fit. I don't like to just cram my feet into really tight shoes, so it's painful to even place my feet on stuff. Yeah. So I'm usually UK 7, and these are slight change in the just the way La Sportiva sizes. These are UK 4.5. But if you look at it compared to my actual shoe, oh man, this isn't demonstrating anything. Hang on. It's not
okay,
that
so it's quite,
far.
Because I find La Sportiva comes, because I'm a 9, I wear 7.5. Like I find their shoe sizes.
Oh yeah, when I've worn other brands, I've worn like there's one brand I used to wear which was literally your street shoe size is what you also wear in the shoe. La Sportiva, it's just a couple of sizes down, and it's the same fit.
And for you, similar kind of thing?
I mean, for the soft shoes, you wear them at least 2 street sizes smaller. For the stiffer shoes, you don't have to size them quite as small. Stiffer shoe is going to give you a bit more support without you having to cram your foot in. But a soft, high tension shoe like this just simply won't work if you size it like a pair of floppy carpet slippers.
I said last question, but there's one last question, which is it's something, because we have a big shop and we obviously get people talking about and returns and how long a shoe lasts is something that's quite prevalent on people's minds. If you have a super aggressive, very soft shoe, it stands to mind that it will probably last less time or not, or how do you maintain that shoe life?
It all boils down to the user and the type of climbing they're doing, and also their footwork. I mean, someone who weighs a lot, someone who's really heavy, who's got relatively aggressive footwork, is scraping their foot down the surface, and who's climbing on granite, is going to get through a certain pair of shoes in, I don't even want to put a figure on it, but we've known of people wearing out shoes in a week, and there's no fault in the shoe. And this isn't a brand specific thing, it could be any brand of shoe. You know, someone who's light, athletic, climbs on wood or plastic, I mean, will get a year or two out of a pair of shoes. So you just cannot possibly start quantifying it. But there actually isn't necessarily a relationship between whether it's a soft shoe or a stiff shoe.
That's what I always thought.
With a stiff shoe, there can be more leverage put on the rubber because the shoe isn't giving, whereas with a soft shoe like this, you see how this is split here?
Yeah.
It adapts to the surface and it moulds, so the wear is spread over a broader surface area. So it's not necessarily the case that the softer shoe will wear out more quickly.
Okay, so good footwork, your shoes will last longer, your bank balance will last longer, it's all good.
That's it.
Cool, it's a nice little insight, and it's quite cool to see, because obviously you're two people who I've admired in the climbing scene. It's quite nice to know that social media can smash it, and then you can just be generally a hero, and you'll also smash it. Cool guys, I know you've got to go. Thank you so much for your time. That's the end of the Gear Show, a bit of a different one this week. See you later.
Thanks a lot.